device that we're using on our mat. You're like, I'm here. We're just gonna take a few deep breaths, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. Do that a couple times. Maybe a pursed lip breath just to ground and arrive and anchor here. Noticing if your eyes want to lower or just soften or close. Allowing the arms to turn so the palms face forward. Just feeling the heart and chest open. You're gonna feel the weight shifting in between the toes and the heels for a moment as we just ground with a softness of knees. And feeling as you come in to find all the pads of the toes, just a pause there for a couple breaths of seeing if you can feel all the toes rooting into the floor, into your mat. And notice that connection up through the front of your ankles, your shins, through your kneecap, into your quadricep, up into your hip flexors, so specifically the iliacus and the psoas on each side. And then allowing that connection to come from the pubic bone all the way up through the front of the body, through the heart, into the neck and the skull. So I want you to feel how when you lean or reach through the pads of the toes, there's a connection, a myofascial connection through the front of the body. And then just shifting a little bit of weight back now onto your heels. And feel that the heel is a circle. Notice the full circle, maybe the inner rim of the heel, the inside, the back, the outer rim, even the top that kind of merges with your inner arch. You can find that whole rim. And then notice your heel bone within that circle. See if you can root down through the heel bone and feel the connection of the heels as we root down, connect up through that Achilles tendon into our calf, behind the back of the knee, into the back of the thighs, the hamstrings, connecting to your sit bones. So the sit bones at the very base of the pelvis. In between is your tailbone. And then traveling all the way up through the spine, on either side of the spine, running up and connecting myofascially through the neck into the skull. And then there's a wrapping around the skull to connect to your third eye center. So now, as you feel toes and heel, I want you to notice the relationship between the both of them. See if you can find an engagement through the feet that connect you myofascially up the front and back of your body. And then rooting down through the feet. We've been bringing in the top of the head to find that deep front line. And so you might just do that, just an awareness of a feeling inside. And some of you might take the swirl of your hairline and then bring your fingers forward and notice how the top of the head starts to rise up. And at the peak, before it starts to descend down, you just want to leave your fingers there as you root up through that peak and down with the toes and the heel. And you can come in and feel this center line. Okay, so that's connecting in between the inner thighs, lifting up as you exhale into the lower belly. There's a lift of a pubic bone, a descending down of the sit bones. a gathering of the ribs. And thinking of this linea alba, this ligament connecting from the pubic bone to the xiphoid process, and then up in between the lungs. So just feeling this biotensegrity of the body, this connection of our whole body. 2 more breaths as you allow your eyes to open. And then check in, is one foot wanting you to start the rolling? So you're going to press down through that standing foot. Allow the other heel to lift, keeping the down and the up. Noticing the relationship of the toes and the heel as that other leg starts to rise up. You take your time to let it float up. You might use a wall, you might not, depending on how the body's feeling today. Some of you might even bring in a little bounce. And then you're going to roll the foot down onto the dowel or a ball if you're using it, and just start rolling the entire sole of the foot. And as you roll out through the entire sole, just take a moment to feel, is there a certain spot that you want to just pause and maybe roll a little bit deeper? You might even pause and add a little bit of compression in one area. And as you do that, it signals the muscle fibers within the fascia to release, to lessen their gripping. So there's an unraveling that happens. Also connects us a little bit more proprioceptively, so we feel a little bit more grounded and aware of our body and space. You might even have a little bit of compression, or what we would call a pinning, and then keep that pressure and do the spinning as well. So the fascia acting like a sponge. As you compress and spin, it's squeezing out any stagnation of fluid. And then when you stop, it rehydrates the area. So allowing us to feel more grounded and anchored in the moment. You can wrap your toes around the ball, or you can stand with your feet on the dowel, both of them, and just feel how the ball is pressing up on the top part of the foot and the toes are wrapping around, and you're opening the top of the foot. Just feeling the down and the up. Feel the difference from the foot that you just rolled to the foot that you haven't. And then step off and take a moment to ground the foot that you just rolled, feeling the down, the up through the top of the head, the in, the out. And then just wait for that other heel to lift, and for the body as you exhale to allow this leg to float up. And I know for me, I have a tendency on one side to be a little bit more externally rotated. And some of us have a tendency to be too overly internally rotated. So for me on this side, I know this femur wants to externally rotate a lot. So you can feel a little awareness, if you also have that, of just allowing that femur to gently internally rotate. It will help you connect to that side of the pelvic floor. Like your two tennis balls. I know, I can tell. That connection in one of it's your left hip, right? Is that yeah, was there? Yeah, right. So you were loading the feet in certain places. So we were just talking about where we were feeling a little bit of holding in the foot. And so identifying that, which might be different on each side, and see if you want to even tip the foot out to add a little bit of rolling through the outside lateral edge or the inside of the medial, which is big toe to pinky toe. The lateral edge is pinky toe to outer heel. Sorry, big toe to inner heel, sorry, is medial. Then you might stand with the feet, the toes wrapping around the ball. You can also pump the heel into the ball a couple times or stand on the dowel with the heel. Whatever you feel. And I want to do a little release once you're done of just stepping off and feeling both feet on the mat. And then we're going to open front and back body. So as we interlace the fingers, we're going to start with back body. And we're going to press the palms of the hands out just to release the hands. So you even create little triangles through your fingers. So I've got my pinky and my thumb pressing into each other, which is creating a little triangle, the triangular connection of the fascia. And I'll just turn sideways for this. And then you'll just feel the knees bend and then you'll lean back. So I want you to feel your whole arm line all the way through to your shoulder blades. So try to reach through the thumb and the pinky. Reach back, let the shoulder blades widen. See if your head just wants to drop. Breathe here. So opening the back door of the heart. Sometimes we have a protective armor in between the shoulder blades, a holding there. And then as you reach up with the arms, extend up through the spine, down through the feet, and then just take some time to maybe exhale to each side. And then also see if you want to move a little bit, which becomes a little bit spontaneous. And so some new research coming out of the fascia is when we move in a pattern that's not typical, so not just going side to side in our lateral stretch, but moving in something that's a little bit different than what we normally do, we start to release deeper held patterns. Good. When you're ready, you take your time to explore that, but I want you to notice your interlace. Okay, so which thumb is on top? You're going to release that, shake it out, and then we're going to interlace one more time. You might open and close your hands because it's quite a big stretch through the finger. Remember, if that doesn't work, you can put one palm of the hand on the back of the hand and just press out so you don't have to interlace. But I want you to bring your fingers back together, but interlace the other way. So your other thumb is on top, which is not what you normally do. Right? Yeah. Yeah. If you forget, just shake it out and then just interlace without thinking about it, right? Because you'll do what you normally do. Okay, then we're going to come up. Then I want you to place it behind the skull very gently. Okay, so your thumbs can be at the base of the ridge of the skull. So it can be just below. And then you can very softly gather your inner elbows towards the skull a little bit. Reach up through the top of the head, down through the feet. Soften the ball of the shoulder down to the bottom of the socket. And then see, does your head want to very softly lean back into the hands? Soften the weave of your fingers as your hands very gently lean into the skull. So just helping the back of the neck to strengthen a tiny bit, creating a little stability. You have control of the pressure. Then we're going to go into a side bend. I want you to keep reaching out through the top of that skull. As you keep that relationship of hands and skull, you're going to inhale, exhale, coming to one side. So you're going to feel one elbow tricep reaching up, one reaching down out the top of the head. And then you're going to inhale up and you're going to switch. Just feeling this connection through the arm lines today to the heart. Just opening the front of the heart now. So sometimes when we drop the chest or close the front of the heart, we kind of lower our energetic field and our nervous system lacks vitality. You do as many as you want, and sometimes a little bit of inner drawing of the mind comes in. You get a little bit depressive, maybe. You do some shoulder rolls because that creates something in the shoulders. So I'm just turning sideways to show you. We're going to inhale, draw the shoulders up, squeeze, roll them back, and then let it out the mouth. Maybe a sigh as you bend the knees. So press down through the feet. Inhale, squeeze, exhale, let it go. So just feeling if we're walking around in a dropped chest and adding that little bit of a protective measure, maybe feeling that we're moving through something and trying to protect ourselves. Then over time, the mind starts to drop, the body starts to drop. It becomes less energy. You're going to go other direction. And sometimes the mind can become a little bit more self-critiquing. And so we're just bringing in a release of energy and fascia through this area, just to bring in some compassion towards self today. Good, one more. And then when you're ready, you're going to inhale, draw the shoulders up, give them a squeeze, and you're going to hold it there. And when you're ready, you can just let it go, drop. Maybe it is coupled with an exhale. Other variation, depending on what's happening in the shoulders and the neck, is you might inhale and squeeze, and then slowly let the shoulder release and do a pursed lip breath. So it's a slow descend, seeing how slow you can let the shoulder blades slide down. So I want you to be aware is when you draw the shoulders up to your ears, notice that your shoulder blades are sliding up your rib cage. And then as you lower the shoulders down away from your ears, you're bringing the shoulders and anchoring it back onto your back. And do that 2 more times. And just seeing if your shoulder blades move freely. Good. And then let's take that into a forward fold. So as we bring the hands at heart center, we're going to inhale. As we exhale, feel your feet. Press the feet into the floor. Inhale, bring the arms up. As we exhale, feel a little bit of weight shift back onto your heels. Reach your sit bones back. Keep them widen as you come down. And I want you to find just a flat back. So then shift your weight So you feel toes and heels. See if you can reach out the top of the head with the gaze down, back through the sit bones. Gather the ribs in and pull them towards the spine a little bit as you exhale. Some of you know that as pranavaya. And you're just going to let your arms dangle, wiggling the fingers to keep them open, just strengthening the back here. And the core, bring length to both sides of the body and then front and back. Go both directions. And then you decide, do you want to stay here? Maybe hands go on the thighs. Maybe you bend the knees a little bit more and you feel your sit bones start to reach up towards the ceiling. Then the spine follows and starts to release down. You let your head go. Take some time here if you wish. Can connect to the sheet of fascia in the back body by bending the elbows and right hand holding left elbow and left hand holding right, and then letting your elbows become heavy and letting them release towards the floor. You'll feel that tugging. It's on your lat muscles. So your lat's attached to your upper arm bone, but then they also flow down your back and they draw into your sacrum all the way down to your tailbone into the thoracolumbar fascia. So Joy, who created this series, used to always call it the sheet of your back. And you can do a little movement here if you wish. Just reaching through one side of the body. And you come up when you're ready. Bend the knees, engage the leg muscles. That helps move the blood back up towards the heart. Maybe you reach the arms up, maybe not. Okay, we're going to go into a little spinal twist. Feet can stay on the floor, or one foot can lift. A little tapping if you choose. Yeah. And then as you slow that down, just going to add a little bit kind of shaking and just letting the body kind of shake and wiggle. Maybe the heels lift up and down, maybe they stay on the floor. You can bring a little kind of lymphatic release. It's really good for the nervous system too. Remember, when we create fluidity in body, it's also going to create fluidity in mind and help us regulate back to homeostasis. I just kind of think of, sometimes we think, I need to be in homeostasis all the time, but that's not rational, right? It's not rational. But what does it mean to be regulated in our nervous system, right? What it means is that when we move into different states, maybe sympathetic or hypersympathetic, where we're maybe aroused or we have anxiousness, that we can then recognize and come back to regulation. And that means, and so we don't get stuck. So sometimes you might notice, I got stuck in a part of my nervous system for a while. Okay, and so the longer we get stuck, then we kind of notice that there's a pattern that we can go into and we fall into it. So being, regulated and healthy regulatory in the nervous system is being able to move between the patterns, but moving back up to regulation with ease and trying not to hover, okay, in the places where we're dysregulated for too long. So we're going to go into dancer. And we're going to use mudra, if you wish, to help ground us. So if you want, you can touch thumb to ring finger. I'll just show it on. Okay, so thumb to ring finger. This is a grounding mudra, so it might help you come up. So you're going to use just on your left hand the mudra. So you're going to allow that to come up, and you might need a wall. Some of you can also use a strap. So if you do need a wall, you can be close to the wall, and then you're going to pick up your right leg with your right hand. And so when you're here, you're going to gather the inner thighs, find a focus point, press the hand and the foot into each other. And I want you to lift up through the pubic bone, the belly, the heart, the sternum, out the top of the head, but anchor down through your sit bone, your tailbone. Go ahead and breathing here. The fingers that are not touching each other on your left hand, see if you can reach them up towards the ceiling. Good. 2 more breaths. There you go, Mom. You got it. Yeah. And then you're going to let go. Shake it out. And then you're going to do other side. You might have the wall, grabbing hold of that foot, lengthening down. Feeling the top of the thigh. Squeeze the inner thighs together. Start to feel the thumb and the ring finger touching, the other fingers extending if you want to bring it in. Earth Mudra, Prithvi. Good. There it is. Holding it for a few more breaths. And you release when you're ready. Okay, we're going to transition down to the floor now. So we're going to go down through a forward fold in a moment. So we're going to find the top short end of our mat, bringing our hands to heart. Let the knees bend, just finding awareness here. As we exhale, releasing the arms down, feel the knees bend. Press the feet into the floor to let the arms float up. Maybe the gaze follows. Exhale, feel that interplay of the weight shifting back, but the toes staying leaning. The sit bones rising back, but then up as the spine follows. And then once you find that folding forward, you want to bring the weight back into the toes. Feel the back of the neck widen. When you're ready, generously bend the knees, place the hands the width of your mat, and you're going to step back. A big step for you with right foot, left foot. Find downward dog. Notice if your knees want to bend a little bit more. To press the hands into the floor, to lengthen back through the spine. And then let the top of the head very gently reach towards the mat as you walk it out. You stay here long as you want. Keep widening the shoulder blades. And then notice if your knees don't want you to come down on them, you're going to swivel the hips to the side and sink down so you come on the side of the legs. But if that feels okay to come down, you can come down right on your knees. Widen them, sink the hips back first, and then go into child's pose. There we go. Okay, and then you decide in your child's pose, do my arms want to extend? Do I want to keep them close to the body? Do they want to walk over to one side? Other option is to put the palms of the hands together and lift the forearm and the hands up off the mat and let them float towards your upper back and neck. So really nice release through the side body, the armpit, and then the upper arm, specifically your tricep. Good. Just feel the weight of your body descend a little bit more into the floor. Feel your belly expand. If you have your knees apart, then you can notice the breath of the belly expand in between your thighs. And as you exhale, the belly deflate, the ribs gather. And once you've done both sides of the arms, which some of you are transitioning from side to side, then you're just gonna come to center. Good. Uh-huh. When you're ready, you're gonna come up, swing the hips over to one side, bring the legs forward. Okay, and then just check in what you have for props that are gonna come beside you. So you might bring your blocks closer. You might even put the inflated slow-mo ball in between the thighs or a 4-inch block if you want. And try to stay up a little bit higher here. See if you can find your sit bones on the mat. And then squeezing the ball or the block. So it might be inner thigh. Okay, you might even be closer to your pelvic floor and where you position the ball. Yeah, so try it out. It was down closer. Yeah, I know, right? And so feel now that up through the top of the head. Notice what happens when you reach up through the top of your head. See how the chest and that inner lift comes in. Hands can be soft, and I want you to just squeeze the ball, press the toes, the heels, and just see if you can come back in a straight spine. And then hover here. You can softly hold the legs. You can bring the arms out. And just pause here. Keep squeezing the ball, breathing, lifting up through the top of the head, widen the back of the neck. And now see if you can pull up through center and bring yourself all the way back up to seated. Ah, good. Okay, so I know. Well, because, okay, so that's a good question. We're talking about the feet. So that's what eventually happens, right? So, yeah, so as you come back, there's a point, right? That when you lean back enough, it counters and the legs want to lift. So some of you might find, okay, I'm going to just come back and I want to stay there. And some of you might squeeze and feel the feet and the legs come off. You choose. But when you come out, see if you can lift up through your inner core. So just bringing inner confidence. And then you're going to allow the pelvis to posterior tilt, chin towards your chest, roll down. Okay, we're going to come onto the floor. You might draw the knees into the chest just to release the hip flexors because we are engaging the psoas a little bit there. Draw the knees in, holding either shins or back of the thighs, rocking a little bit. We're going to circle the legs in one direction and the other when you're ready. So just going back and forth. You might just rock from right hip to left hip, passing through the sacrum bone. Downward pointing triangle. Once you're ready, the feet can descend on the floor. I'm just going to take a moment just to arrive here. Feel maybe the hands resting on your belly or the arms out to the side. Notice if your head wants a little bit of support today, maybe supporting the head. Just feel yourself arrive here. Notice if the eyes want to close. Maybe soften and stay open. And as you allow your body to expand with the breath, inhaling, expanding, belly, ribs, sternum, collarbones, shoulder blades. Exhale, soften ribs, collarbones, belly deflates. Allowing yourself to expand and see if you can notice, am I expanding three-dimensionally? And on the inhale, there's a spaciousness, there's a vitality, an uplifting quality of energizing that comes in. And on the exhale, there's a gathering in of your body as your body releases, and there's a dropping into the floor. See if you can flow with the inhale, belly, ribs, shoulder blades, chest expanding. Spaciousness arriving, but also energy coming in. And as you exhale, there's a gathering in. So softening of a release as you become heavy, but also a reconnection to self. So the power of the breath has a direct link to our mind. The strength and empowerment that the breath has and how it can shift not only the mind or the moods, but also help to regulate the nervous system. Feel this three-dimensionality of the breath. Sometimes when you need to bring in more vitality or energy, you can just focus on your inhalation a little bit more. Let your mind hover on inhalation. If you need to release, ground, regulate, you might hover on exhalation. Our consciousness has a tendency to be pulled outward. And so when you exhale, there's a drawing back in to center line. So we spoke about the linea alba, this ligament that goes from your pubic bone to the bottom of your front of your rib cage, which is your xiphoid process. And so when you feel that exhale, you can feel a gathering from right side to left side, folding in to this internal center line. Okay. And just feel that few more breaths. Start to move around just a little bit. I still had the ball in between my thighs. If you did, you might even take that out. You had the block there. We're going to create a little bit of height under our pelvis if that feels good for you. We're going to do our tapping. So some of you might use a chip bump block. Some of you might just want to be flat on the floor. Some of you might even have a folded blanket and put it under the hips. Just allows the pelvis to lift up towards you with a little bit more ease. As you exhale, you're heavy. And so 3 points of contact, very heavy, back of the pelvis. So you're pressing that a little bit into the floor, your support, shoulder blades, leaning that back of the skull. And as you exhale, you're going to draw the lower belly in and up, gather in. The legs come up either one or both at a time with the knees bent. And then you unfurl the legs, shake them out, and you're going to tap through shins, the back of the calves, bringing a little bit of life into the mechanoreceptors. So the Ruthenian mechanoreceptors connect us to our proprioception a little bit more. And so they respond to vibration. They also respond to stretching, which we did at the start of class. And you can also go into your combing with your tool, with your hands, putting a little bit of pressure at the lower limb towards the ankle, and then pressing up and dragging towards the knee. So doing that releasing of any stagnation and rehydrating. And so one other tool is you press a little into the fascia. So we're doing the combing, but you can also press a little bit into the fascia and then hold that pressure and do a little bit of twisting here with the dowel. So it's just the new one I was playing with, that shearing technique of the fascia. So it takes the fascia and kind of does like a ringing motion in different directions. So it releases deeper holding. So it works really well on the shins. So you can move through both legs here. And even tap the soles of the foot, which we haven't brought in a little bit. So I've just got my arm on the floor and I'm just tapping out the feet from the bottom. So it gives a little bit of a different awareness to the feet that we don't normally get. And then when you're going into the thighs, you can bring one leg up. You can circle through the hip. You can bring it into a figure four, opposite ankle onto opposite thigh. You can thread the arms through. You can use the dowel to hold the back of the leg. You can also comb down through the back of that thigh, the inner thigh. And come through the iliotibial band. But you can also roll over onto one side and just tap here. Feels quite good. And when you're ready, you can move into the abdomen with just the hands. If you choose, they can just pause there. They can shimmy, shake, they can tap if they want. The abdomen, just getting into the lower part of the vagus nerve and nourishing the visceral fascia around the organs. So that gut sense feeling that we have. You can tap through the rib cage using right hand to tap left side, left hand to tap right, and tap the sternum. Humming if you want to bring in Brahmari breath. And just remembering the effects of Brahmari breath, that it creates that short-lived gas, nitric oxide, that helps to oxygenate our body. It's a vasodilator. It's also a neurotransmitter. This breath tends, for some of us, to calm our mind, but some of us, it creates a disturbance in the mind. Especially if we've had a concussion, sometimes this breath does not feel nourishing. And the research around how this breath also releases fascial stiffness. And you can go down through the arms, so extend one arm and tap from the wrist all the way down the arm into the collarbone area. We were using the index and the thumb to grab hold of the forearm and the wrist and sweeping down to help release any stagnation. You can just use the fingers as well. The lymph transfers back into the cardiovascular system, which is in this vein. It's subclavian, so I mean it's below the clavicle. Just take some time to be there. You can stay on your side and tap your back body. You can roll over and sit up and tap back body. You can focus on this thoracolumbar fascia all the way down through the lower back, not tapping right on the vertebra, except the sacrum you can tap on. Shoulder blades, okay. Top of the shoulders, front of the chest. Good. So just taking your time to complete that. You're going to lie down and you might even feel that no rush, stay there if you're still then. If the scalp fascia needs a little bit of attention, you can very gently massage the scalp. So the temporal bones just behind your temporal on the side of the skull here, you can, if you move back and they're above your ears, you can massage. Sometimes they get kind of jammed in towards the skull. And then you can massage on the top, the back. If you want to do any palming, rubbing the palms of the hands together, either with the fingers together or apart. Maybe you put that on the body or you cover the eyes. You can have a little bit of pressure on the eyes if you choose, or just let the hands hover off. If you put a little bit of pressure on the eyes, it does eventually, through a connection, certain nerves, that it does eventually come into your vagus nerve and just help to regulate the nervous system. I believe it's your Gasserian ganglion. You'll know when the eyes, the hands feel ready to release. Mine released a little bit sooner, so I'm just resting without them, but you stay there for as long as you want. And when they're ready to come off, you notice if your eyes want to stay closed or open and then release. Okay, we're going to go up onto a little bit of support, and we're going to do a flow with a few postures on either a chip foam block or on a folded blanket, a little bit of height under the pelvis. So checking in what it is that you're using, put it underneath the back of the hip. So the lower back is just floating off the floor. We can use a little support in between the inner thighs, only if you wish. You can use a 4-inch block, you can use the slow-mo ball. But you're going to squeeze if you're using it. Feel like you're lifting up through the lower belly, the rib cage, leaning into the floor to bring the thighs up, reaching a little bit out the top of the head, then unfurling your feet. And when your legs are in the air, your feet should be the same distance as your upper thighs. So if your feet are wider, try to squeeze the ball or the block a little bit more. Just bend the knees a tiny bit just to soften the outer flesh. Okay, so we want the skin very soft and kind of drapey. And then the arms can come up. You can imagine we're holding a big ball in the hands, a little bend of the elbows. And then we're just going to move the arms and the legs towards one another and away just to settle. So back of the skull, shoulder blades, pelvis heavy, a little leaning into the floor. You notice where the exhalation wants to come in. Sometimes when the arms and the legs move away from one another, it's the most spot where the core needs to work, right here. And so then you can use also the core to lift your arms and the legs back towards one another. And I want you to feel as if we're standing on the ceiling, that there's a little bit of energy reaching through all of your toes and your whole circle of the heel. Good. And then you're going to pause as the arms and the legs come together. You're going to release that ball or block if you're using it. Palms face one another. Let the elbows and the knees bend. You try to keep the back of the shoulder blades and the ribs just leaning a little bit into the floor for this one. We're going to go into scissors. So we're going to move right arm, right leg overhead towards the skull and the torso. Left arm, left leg towards the floor. And right here, when you're separated, I want you to feel like you've got an elastic band here that you're stretching. So try not to go too far. Keep your elasticity so that when your arms and your legs come back together, there's that elastic recoil that's happening in the fascia. Yeah, good. There you go. Thanks, Alexandra. Your core is gathering in and up the whole time. You can feel a little leaning back, the pelvis, especially the upper rim. Okay, then you're going to pause. This nourishes the whole body. So once you've done the same amount on each side, you're going to pause. You're going to shake it out. We're going to do lateral lie now. So we're going to touch thumb and the pads of all the fingers, little bend of the knee. This is Hakini Mudra, and we're going to open arms and legs out to the side. Now, when you're here, heavy back body, reach up a little bit through the inner and outer heels, a little bit through the toes. Then feel like you're squeezing a ball as you bring the legs and the arms back together. Inhale, expand, lean the back body into the floor. Exhale, squeeze a ball, feel the ribs gather, belly deflate. Feel the whole body working. Good, one more. It's called Nutcracker. It's really nourishing the inner and outer line. And then we're going to focus on the back line for a moment. So you're going to bring your arms down so they can either sit on your rib cage. The other option is you can bring the hands so the heel of the hand is just resting on your forehead and the palm of the hand just wraps around your skull. So here or here, depending on what feels good on the shoulders. Then you're going to bend your knees. And you want to feel heavy pelvis into the block. And we're going to do cricket pose. So this lengthens back line. So you're going to start with one leg. I'm going to start with my left because it's closest to camera. And as you exhale, the leg's going to extend forward a little bit. And then you're going to push through your heel. And you're going to allow the leg to come up as if you're drawing a J. And then you're going to come down. And then there's a little hook at the bottom where you bring the leg back in. So you're going to do both sides. So you exhale, the one leg extends, then it pushes through the heel. You draw the back top of the J. You come down, you redraw the J, and you hook the leg back in to center. Press out, exhale, tug up. Yeah, there you go. Back down. Remember, we talked about how When we root through the heel, we're tugging myofascially on that back line. And your heel of your hand, if you have it on your forehead, is right where this back line is ending. So do a couple more. See if you can reach a little bit of energy out your head. Once you get a little bit more connected here, you'll find that you can extend the leg out a little bit farther before you push up into the J. And then come back down and grab it. But at the beginning, you just do a little J, little extension. Okay, but as you get a little bit better, you can feel that you can stay in control of your core. Good. And then you're going to shake it out. Do you feel ankle and wrist circles? Shake it all around. We're going to bring the feet down to the floor, lift the hips up, remove that block. Take a moment to just pause here. Okay, we're going to release all those lateral movements by a twisting motion. So we're going to go into our smiley face. So we're going to take the slow-mo ball or the block, put it in between the thighs. Remember, you can always have something under the head. Okay, so your choice here. You're going to squeeze the ball, the block, allow the thighs to come up towards you. Now, feel the feet reaching out through toes and heel. You can bring your arms up so that the arms are like they're holding a ball. The other option is if you do have a dowel and you want to use it, you can put it in the palm of the hands so that each end of the dowel is leaning into the palm of the hands. I'm going to do it without, but you can use the dowel. Then your legs are going to go to one side, a little up as the arms go to the other, trying to keep your shoulder blades on the floor. You inhale, arms and legs back to center. Exhale, legs come up to the other side. You exhale to the left, but then you allow the lower belly to draw in and up as the legs come over to each side. Then you inhale to center. Maybe your head turns. Sometimes, traditionally, the head follows the legs, but sometimes I just let the head follow the arms if it wants to. Yeah, good. Okay, if you want, you can go into the intermediate of kicking, extending through shins and feet. Some of us have put a block, which I usually give, and I didn't today, so I'll show that. In between the feet, it helps you squeeze and stay connected. Wiggle the fingers from time to time. Rest when you need to. Yeah, good. And do a couple more. Okay, releasing that, letting your props go. Take a moment here. Ah. Oh, so we have, last week we did the whole arm series in heart bed, and today we're gonna just shift things up so you can stay just flat on your back if you wanna just be here. And we're gonna do a couple arm movements so you can put support between the inner thighs. You can also choose if you wanna open the front of the chest a little bit more, which we did back line, but if you do wanna find chest opening, you can take your bolster, have your feet hip width apart, root down, chin releases down as the pelvis lifts up, and you come into a supported bridge pose. Notice if this position feels okay. If not, you can just be flat on the floor for this next one. Okay, we're going to nourish front and back body here. So we're going to go into the owl wing version of just owl wings 1 and 2. So we're going to bring the arms up. Palms are going to face the legs. We're going to touch the pad of the index and the pad of the thumb into each other. That myofascially connects us to the front of the chest. Wiggle the middle ring and pinky. Let them soften. Let the elbows bend. And then you're going to open the arms out to the side to wherever they want to come to. And then back, bringing the index and thumb back towards one another. So your head can stay in center. Eyes can be softly open, they can close. Or when you open the arms, if you're not feeling dizzy or have vertigo, you can turn your head to the side. And then as the arms come back together, head into center. You keep alternating. Head turns left one time, arms come back together, head into center. Then you go right, then back to center. Keep reaching a little energy out that top point of the head. Keep leaning very gently the index and the thumb because we always want to load the fascia and the muscles a little bit so that we can bring that spongy elasticity, hydration back to the body. We're just going to even it out. So we open the arms if we're turning the head evenly from side to side. Pause here. Wiggle the fingers, release the mudra, turn the arms and the hands to face one another, and then to the wall behind you. We're going to go back into earth mudra. So that was the thumb touching the ring finger. The other three fingers extended, wiggling, a little bend of the elbows. Then you're going to open the arms out to the side again, and the pinky side of the hands towards one another. So you don't need to touch the hands together. Yeah, good. Now we're nourishing back body. So feeling your wings of connection myofascially from your fingers all the way through the arms into your shoulder blades, your chest, your sternum. A little bit of energy out the top of the head. Oh. And just even that out and do as many times as you need to. And then pause. Let the arms come down beside you, palms down if it feels okay. We're just going to root the feet into the floor. Let the sit bones reach towards your shins and then reach up a little bit and just let the pelvis, if it wants to, just hover just off the bolster. Chin towards your chest. Notice all your toes, the heels. A little bit of energy reaching out the top of your head. Just breathe here. Just feel the whole body activate. Little internal rotation of the thighs. And then slowly remove the bolster out of the way if you're using it. Come down to the floor. Draw one leg in, draw the other leg in. Good. Give yourself a hug. We're going to come up and excuse me, we're going to do a little bit of movement on hands and knees. So I'm going to give two variations depending on if you don't want to go fully into the wave pose. So you're going to roll over and you're going to come up. And if you feel that you just want to be a little bit gentler on yourself, today you can have the hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, or down onto the elbows as you stack them under the shoulders. And you can go into the spinal wave. So starting from the sit bones, reaching down, rounding up through the spine, through lower, middle, upper head. And then starting through sit bones, arching through lower back, the middle back, the spine, and the cervical very gently in the head. Okay, so you can just do the rounding of the spine. You didn't do any spinal waves at the start. We'll do this in preparation for the wave. And then you can just pause in child's pose if you want and rest there. You can put your legs up the wall. Those of you that want to come into wave pose, I'll demonstrate it a couple times. Some of you already know it. You're going to have the shins and the feet released on the floor. The arms come forward the width of the mat. And then you start by rounding up. So you let your sit bone, tailbone come down. You round up through the spine and you lift up and you extend the pelvis a little bit forward so that the shoulders come to stack over the hands. This is a modified plank. And then you let the movement come back through the sit bones and the pelvis. So the pelvis moves back, the spine starts to round, and then check in. Did I need to adjust by bringing my legs a little bit closer? Sometimes putting, excuse me, a ball or a block in between the thighs is helpful. Sometimes drawing the hands back. I had to reach mine a little bit forward. So when you come into the plank, you want to be right in a nice connection. And then eventually you're going to move into that upward dog. So as you come forward, you feel the belly draw back, the ribs gather. So you come here, then you just let the lower belly lift, the upper belly, the heart, the collarbones widen. Still staying connected here. And then you start back. You reach pelvis back, the lower back rounds, the middle back, the upper back. And you don't have to go all the way back into your child's pose. It's just part way. And once you get to your plank, then you start to lift pubic bone, lower belly, upper belly, heart, collarbone, press the top of the feet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Candace, I wonder about widening your hands again. I know it's one of the things I always say to you a couple times. Yeah, you get cramps in your feet, tuck your toes under them. Be here and just have your toes tucked under. Because for you, it tends to, it always is that, right? Yeah. Good. And then you can pause. I'm just going to watch. Nice, Christine. Mm-hmm. Now you feel pubic bone. Yeah, and the shoulders down. There it is. Yeah, feel the difference of that? Yeah. It's the one wrist for you, how you like to have the hands. And it just hasn't really softened that much. Hey, it's better though. Yeah, because I remember before it used to have to turn out a lot more, right? But yeah, I would say that's a little bit too much now. Yeah. Yeah, which is okay though. Yeah, which you would want to balance it out, right? hmm And what does it feel like if you bring your knees a little bit closer in that one? Yeah, yeah. And try to feel that gathering in as you come forward. Right, keep lifting up, lifting up. Yeah, hold that. There you go. Now feel the difference of the strength there. hmm Whereas before it was you were kind of like letting the pelvis just kind of go and drop a little bit. Yeah, yeah, good. You can rest whenever you're ready. You might rest in child's pose. You might lie back down. You might even come and sit for a bit, whatever you want. Open and close the hands if you want to release. And shake it out a little bit through the wrists as well. Okay, so we just did a little awakening of the fascial body through front and back today, noticing our connection as a whole. And as you pause, either in child's pose or you lie back down or you sit, whatever you want, just notice how you feel from when you first came in. As you pause here and breathe, I was reading through the poems today. This one by Rumi came to ask to be shared today, and it's about change. Just notice that we're constantly moving through moments of change and shift and evolution. And as we hydrate the fascia, it softens the flow of the muscles so that they can move more freely. And then also our nervous system, which is embedded in the fascia and the muscles, can have that ability to evolve and to shift. And when we become rigid and held in the body, then sometimes that creates rigidity in the mind and the nervous system. And we get stuck in patterns. So the poem is, try not to resist the change that comes your way. Try not to resist the change that comes your way. Instead, let life live through you. Let life live through you. Don't worry that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side you're used to is better than the one to come? Don't worry about that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side you are used to is better than the one to come? And take a moment to pause and simply be for one more minute. If your mind drifted off your breath, just come back to your breath again. Simply just watch how the flow is entering inhalation and leaving body exhalation. And then you'll start to move and adjust and wiggle and stretch and yawn, however it resonates with you. And you'll roll over to one side and come up and sit if you haven't already. And the arms, if they want, can release down beside the legs, palms facing forward, just really having the heavy back of the fingers. And then lifting up through the top of the skull as you press down into the pelvis. So you feel that evenness. So we want to feel evenly lengthened through front and back body. We have our slight curves, but we feel long and open. As we exhale out the mouth when you're ready. And then as you inhale, let the arms float up. When you get to the height of the shoulders, you may even turn the palms down and let the arms come a little bit forward, drawing the top of a triangle, palms touch. Receive that energy as you draw a line down in front of your body from your skull, your throat, your heart, your belly. And then see if you want to, as you gather energy back up, and you open yourself up to receive it on the exhale. How does it feel to gather and then receive? Doing it one more time. Pausing on the third round, with the hands at the heart, just feeling an equal leaning of right hand into left. We're just going to let the forearms and the wrists come down a tiny bit. Just try to keep the heel of the hand leaning. So only bring the hand down to a place where you can have equal leaning. And then we're going to push right hand into left and let the arms swing to the left without turning the torso. And then press left hand into right and let the arms swing to the right. So just do that back and forth. Right hand presses into left, arms swing to the left. Left hand presses into right, arms swing to the right. And just let that flow. Just a connection through the front and back door of the heart. And bringing in this awareness, releasing any unstuck protective patterns that we'd had of holding and letting the heart shine and lift. Act of self-compassion. And then just slowly releasing that into center. Feel down through the pelvis, up through the top of the head, soft shoulders, wide neck. Feel your breath. And let your eyes open. With your head is bowed in any way. Just notice as you open your eyes, is your gaze straight ahead? If not, bring it there. And thank you for taking the time to share practice. It's nice in the studio when we get quieter class. And thank you for being online.